Josh again with you. Hope everybody's doing well. I know I uploaded a video recently, but I thought I'd come at you again today because the other one was a bit of a rambling, not a whole lot of substance to it. You'll forgive the hat indoors. Not been up very long, and haven't got myself together yet today. But enough of that. We'll get straight to it today. First of all, the housekeeping. Smoking my Missouri Meerschaum Fifth Avenue Diplomat with the Danish bit in it, if I can get it relit real quick. I've got Conway's cask number 2 Portwood. It's for an aromatic, it's wonderful. It's flavored with port wine and a little bit of vanilla. And Conway uses excellent tobacco to blend with anyway. So, of course, this is about 3 years old, and it still has the flavor through it, but you also get the Virginias have matured in it, and the unsweetened Cavendishes they use have matured, and so it's a really rich blend. So the point of today's video is I want to talk about something that another hobby or another interest of mine. So forgive the jingling, that's McMurray, our Newfoundland. If he gets brave enough, he's a little camera shy. If he gets brave enough, I'll bring him over here and show him to you. A little over a year old, right about 150 pounds. He's a big old boy. And if you're all wondering, I did name him after McMurray on Letterkenny. It seemed fitting for a Canadian dog to have a name befitting a Canadian man. I digress. But that hobby, one would be reading, but is writing for me. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about the influence behind it, and maybe read something I've written. But for me, I got into writing in high school, and for me that was probably almost 10 years ago. I had an English teacher who was very encouraging my sophomore year of high school, and saw something in my writing that he wanted to encourage, and I appreciated that about him. But it wasn't really until I read a lot of the works by H.P. Lovecraft later on, when I got about 22 or so, that I realized that a lot of the things that I think that I want to write about could be written about. Because I'd read some Edgar Allan Poe things, and I'd read, of course, Dracula. I had read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I had read, all kinds of classic horror novels, scary stories, science fiction stories, you name it. But he was the one that put it in my head that you can write an alternative history where it is dark and disturbing and strange and make it fit into what seems like it's real. And that's what I'd always had in my head, but I had a hard time writing about because the next man that I want to talk about is Ernest Hemingway, who I think anybody that writes aspires at least somewhat to be like Ernest Hemingway. I mean, how can you not? He's most certainly one of the greatest American authors of all time. Uh, for Whom the Bell Tolls may be one of the best novels ever written. Uh, a scene that always sticks out to me, two scenes, and they're very plain scenes. One is when he's describing the way that the heather feels when he lays down as they're going up the mountain. And two is when the woman in the cave, when she has to find her way around the table and she just bumps into the wineskin and spills a little bit of the wine. They're so ordinary, but they're written so well that they stand out. However, my favorite works by Hemingway are the true works, things that actually happen, things like A Movable Feast, the Green Hills of Africa, on his safaris and things. Those are some of my favorite works outside of For Whom the Bell Tolls. And then, of course, his short stories. I have the complete collection over there, and I've read it all, and they're all phenomenal. But then another inspiration, just the way that my brain works, is Hunter Thompson. And I don't mean like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, psychedelic on drugs, tripped out. I mean Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, 1972, The Hells Angels, The Great Shark Hunt, his collection of short stories there. Just phenomenal works. Again, another just amazing American author. And Ernest Hemingway taught me to, if something's worth writing about, you should write about it truly and as it is. H.P. Lovecraft taught me that if something is worth thinking about and worth worrying about, it's worth writing about. And Hunter Thompson taught me that just because it is true and it is worth writing about doesn't mean it has to be boring. Another one of the influences on my writing is actually not even a novelist or a prose writer at all. It would be Mr. Rod Serling, who created and wrote The Twilight Zone. I think to this day, The Twilight Zone, I'll show it to people that have never seen it, and they have something they can take away from it. It was written wonderfully. You have some where the stories are just bizarre, and they're wonderful to watch. You have some that are trying to keep the cat from knocking everything over. It's not part of my thought process there. Just what was happening. Gandalf's a little shy too. If he warms up, maybe we'll show him to you as well. He's a big old boy too. But no, the Twilight Zone, you had immense social commentary at the time that wasn't done on anything else. Uh, Not just prejudicial commentary, but commentary on the world itself. Things that just couldn't be said any other way. And I guess Rod Serling is the one that taught me that it's okay to be weird about writing about things the way that you see them. And those are probably my four biggest influences in wanting to write. It's not that I want to recreate what those men have created, but they instilled something in me that was already there that make me feel like, well, I can do this too. However, it may just be the kind of person that I am. I have a hard time accepting things as they are finished. It's hard for me to find answers to questions. I most of the time come to an answer that raises more questions than it answers anything. So I have a hard time accepting that something I've written is finished. There's not more to expound upon it. But and of course, the tie-in to pipe smoking there is, well, I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, if a good book goes well with a pipe, writing something that you truly feel goes even better with a pipe, because I do believe that while I'm writing, sometimes just being able to stop and contemplate helps improve what's going on. And very, very rarely will I ever write without a pipe, or several pipes if it's sitting down and really doing something. Not that it's impossible to do, I just find that it works better for me. So, I guess now what I'll do is I'll read you something that I've written, just to at least get it out there for it to be said. And I do ask that if you feel that it is good, I do welcome compliments, but I don't want to go on Reddit sometime and see it copied down as somebody else's. So I do ask that there be a little bit of an honor system there. If you do feel that it's good, you can ask me to share it other places if you want, things like that. But please don't take it for your own to try to share it. So with that disclaimer, I'll set my pipe down for just a moment. Open my little notebook up here. And got a couple of short things that I'll read here. This one I titled The Living Future. Do you miss me like I miss you? Do I count the days we've been apart? No. I do count the years. I guess that shows the love I have for you. Do I still hold you dear? Of course. Not near as close as once I did. Can you miss someone for so long from afar? For God's sake, that is all I hope. Please think of me like I think of you, frozen in time, mine forever. With love, the future. With that one, I just thought it would be funny that the future loves the past but can never touch it. Just a longing love forever of things that will never be again. I'll read another one here. This one I titled Rage and Justice for All. Voices screaming for justice, angry and hungry, waiting for their servant. There is no justice in anger, no justice in hunger, no justice in emotion. There lies vengeance, waiting, frothing, foaming, to be set free upon the unwitting peace, to rampage and take the freedom of all people screaming, or not. There lies the death of freedom, vengeance in her hysterical rage. There ends the dream of justice. When I wrote that, I was thinking primarily of the American Civil War. As you know from a couple of videos ago, I don't have, for quite some time, I've not had a short-term memory. And I wake up every morning and I check the news, and I'm reminded of how relevant that is now. I don't want to be political. But that kind of rings true, I guess, with what's going on, not just in America, but in the world today. We may do one more. Seeing as how we've just hit 17 minutes, might as well be fitting to keep the trend of 20-plus minute videos. This one I titled Loneliness. Alone is not being on your own. It is being with others and not being one. Not connecting, not fitting the mold. Alone is loving and being unknown. Giving love and receiving none. Alone is the true darkness. Alone is the essence of madness. Alone is the coldest depth of being. But when cold is all you know, is it not warmth? For what can you compare? You are alone. That one just seemed almost romantic in a lonely sense to me when I wrote it. Or at least maybe I had that feeling. I don't know. I don't know where a lot of it comes from. It just comes. Kind of thinking on the process now that I've read them, kind of thinking through the process of rereading those. More or less, it's I have an idea and then words just come out. That's not my thought process. It's the words that describe the idea. Because the idea is so abstract, there's not one word for it, at least in my head. Those are just some short prose or poems, whatever you want to call them, that I've written. Not any kind of stories or anything like that. Which I've written a few short stories, but that may be for another time. For a long time, it was hard for me to believe that people didn't think that way. They didn't have such abstract ideas in their brain that one word couldn't define it. It was just a string of words that it said something. And it says something different to everybody that I've ever said them to. But very few people ever come to the same conclusion I do. And that doesn't upset me. I mean, that's what you anticipate if you're going to write something that, whether it be a song, whether it be prose, poetry, short stories, novels, even even news, people are going to interpret it differently. Uh, so I hope that kind of explains my enjoyment of the hobby at least a little bit, and kind of gives you an idea for how that process works for me, at least with these shorter works. And kind of, gives, if you've never heard of some of the folks that I've talked about that have inspired me to write, uh, I would encourage you, whether it be Ernest Hemingway, Hunter Thompson, whether it be H.P. Lovecraft, or whether it be just simply sitting down, going to Netflix and watching The Twilight Zone, for Rod Serling. I would encourage you even just to do that. Even if you didn't enjoy the writing, you don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to enjoy it. You don't have to agree with it. Of course, you can like it. You can enjoy it. You can agree with it. It can move you. It's like any piece of art. Uh, and to me, I guess, to further explain the thought process, thinking has always been an art. It's not something that, and I mean about the most mundane of things, it's not something that's just as simple as, I'm hungry, should I have a sandwich? It's, a sandwich with bologna. That would be really good. Add a little bit of mustard on it. That would be even better. Fry it. Put some tomato, a little bit of lettuce, maybe some mayonnaise. That would be even more fantastic. And yet, that's a normal thought process, but yet, when it happens in my head, it's not. It's not a. It's drawn out, and by the time it's finished, there's so much fulfillment. Bringing that art of thinking to life, whether it's in a pan cooking, whether it's on paper, whether it's musically. I guess you can probably see the headstock of the guitar. Whether it's just through the art of thinking itself, just asking questions in your head and trying to find answers. I hope I didn't get too deep, and I hope I didn't overstep my bounds here, guys. I just thought I would do a little bit of a video on another hobby of mine. Another hobby that I enjoy while smoking my pipe. Because I know many of us have those hobbies. I even know people that one of their favorite things to do while smoking a pipe is mow the yard. So, whatever you like to do while you smoke your pipe is as much as smoking your pipe as smoking your pipe. That might be out there, but I believe it's true. I believe everything can be seen as an extension of one thing or another. You might be drawn to something for another reason and pick up other things for that same reason that go along. Now I'm rambling, so we might as well go ahead and end it. We're about at the 25-minute mark, so that would be a good point, because most of you probably quit caring a long time ago. If you didn't, I appreciate it. Sorry you had to listen to the rambling at the end. But I do hope that everyone stays well. Hope that you have a good day, good rest of your week if I don't see you again. And until next time, have a pipe for me. And most importantly, enjoy it. Bye, guys.